egotistical, so unpredictable, here on the SNL network.
Yes, that is right. Welcome everybody on in to the Saturday Night Network here for another hot take show to recap the Jenna Ortega and the 1975 episode of Saturday Night Live. This was such a fun episode. I'm so excited to talk about it. And we have some great guests with us tonight and some amazing friends here in the chat as well. So can't wait to get into it with all of you tonight. And first up, it is the legend herself, Amanda Mitchell. Amanda, how you doing?
I'm good. I didn't get my words of affirmation from you today, John. Just reminding you.
Here it is.
I know. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. It's the best way to spend a Saturday night. I'm glad that we are. Hold on. I'm going to romanticize this. There's no one else I would rather be losing an hour with than the two of you. How about that?
Yes. That is so true. Yeah, if you're joining us and it hits that 1:59 and jumps all the way to 3 o'clock, don't be scared. We haven't been with you that long, but yes, we are springing forward. I think we were here for fallback night in the fall. Now we're here for spring forward. So always.
And I was here with you last year when the same day on Daylight Savings last year. I remember because I remember being like, how did this happen again? And next time I'll have it in my calendar. We won't let that happen, but it's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, great to be with you, Amanda, and excited to be with all of our friends here today as we start to spring forward. But now let me introduce our third panelist with us tonight for the first time on the Saturday Night Network. It's one of our newest members of our team. It is Jack Roskopp. Jack, how are you?
Hey, I am doing so well. I'm so happy to be here. I'm excited. All the things.
Perfect. Well, Jack, I know you've been podcasting with Amanda for much longer than I have been podcasting with Amanda, so you two know each other very well. Why don't you just give us a very brief background on your SNL history, how you got into the show and all that stuff, and then we'll jump into the episode from tonight.
Just obsessed at a very young age, honestly. The SNL DVDs, the best of DVDs were pretty formative for me, and I've just been, obsessed for as long as I can remember, honestly.
Well, that's what we want here. We want people who are obsessed with the show, so we get to break it all down with them. So thrilled to have you on the show, Jack. And why don't we start with our hot takes or headlines from the night, from this Jenna Ortega and the 1975 episode. And Amanda, I will send it over to you. What is your biggest takeaway from tonight?
We've improved. That's my biggest takeaway. We did better than we have since the last time I was here, which was a great episode. So that's what I have to say. Yeah.
Yes, and the last time you were here was the Pedro Pascal episode, I believe. So that is the marker for anybody who wasn't following along. But yeah, totally agree, Amanda. I thought tonight was really, really fun. Jack, what is your headline or hot take from the night?
My hot take headline is that Gen Z is all right. They are doing well. They are thriving. They are prospering. Jenna Ortega, I had no idea she was 20. I knew she was young, but I didn't know she was that young. And they get it, and they're here, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I felt like this was a return to form tonight. Travis Kelce was a decent episode of the show. I think there was moments where I felt like Travis really carried a lot of those sketches last week. I didn't necessarily feel, though, Jenna did a great job tonight, that she carried any particular sketch. I really felt like the cast was extremely strong tonight in most of the sketches that we got to see, which was a return to form from what we saw through that great run near the end of the year and into the beginning of this year. So for me, this was a great start to what hopefully is going to be a great run to finish off the season, because I thought tonight was really fun. I thought they had some really creative ideas for sketches. And, that was sort of my theory over the last couple of weeks. SNL, the writers, everybody at the show, they'll never, admit something like this. But I think knowing that Jenna Ortega was going to be coming in tonight and there was going to be lots of eyeballs there, I think maybe you sort of hold back a couple ideas for somebody like Jenna. And I think we got to see those tonight. So I walked away from tonight feeling very good about the show. I cannot wait to start to get into these sketches because some of the formats were so unique. It'll be fun for us to break them down in a way that we haven't got to break down some of the other sketches from this season. So Amanda, Jack, ready to get into it?
Yeah. I also want to say this is the most Vine-y SNL has been in a long time. Like I felt like I was watching a bunch of Vine videos. Like it's 2014. Just like this little absurd, like it was a little absurd in the best possible way. But that's all I gotta say.
Just to clarify, you mean like Viney and not TikToky, or you're just like used to saying
Yes.
Vine?
No, I mean like Vine. No, I'm talking about Vine.
Okay.
I'm not talking about TikTok. Like it's very different. Yeah.
Jack, do you concur?
Yeah, I thought there were a lot of like big swings tonight. It felt like to me. It was like very strong choices, committed to a lot of things, and it was fun, honestly.
And I feel like we also saw the most cast members we've seen on this show, like in groups all together in a very long time.
Yeah, nobody was really dominating.
No one.
It was sort of just like little speckles of everybody here and there, which was nice.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, we'll find out once we do the screen time and all the stats from the week who really dominated the night, but it really felt like we got to see a lot of different cast members tonight, which was great. But let's start off with our Oscar-themed cold open, where we are on the red carpet with Marcelo Hernandez as Mario Lopez, Heidi as either Kit Hoover or Maria Menendez. Wasn't sure. And then we had lots of different people show up. Keenan as Mike Tyson, Heidi as Jamie Lee Curtis, Andrew and Devin are there with the Oscar odds, Mikey and Molly, they are there as Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, former hosts from this season. Sarah shows up as Michelle Williams, Jewish acting coach from The Fabelmans. Bowen is George Santos as Tom Cruise, and finally Michael Longfellow as Pinocchio in at the end. So a very long cold open, not political, this time very pop culture themed. So Amanda, what did you think of it?
I mean, this is okay. First of all, Jack texted me at this, and I said, I can't talk to you about this episode while I'm talking, because I'm about to talk to you about it for an hour, and I don't want to pre-prep my jokes. I'm sorry. Yuck. I don't, I want to come in here fresh. But I mean, I love an Oscars cold open. I thought it was a little too long. At a certain point, I was like, okay, what we could have cut. I love Sarah. We could have cut that character. They just wanted to have her do a bit. And it just, at a certain point, felt just like we have all these characters and these people that we want to put in. And I appreciated the full circleness of the George Santos joke, but I was also like, are we really doing George Santos jokes? Like, we're in March, y'all. Like, we're like, it feels like that's just covered. Like it felt like they had impressions they wanted to do and fit in here. But again, I always just love a red carpet cold open. And also I want to know what those extras are like. Who are they? The ones in the open, like who are walking the red carpet in the background. Who are they?
There's some really good extras on the show, but it's actually not a red carpet, it's a champagne carpet tonight that we got to see.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. But sometimes we get some like fun little notes from SNL. So earlier in the day, I saw that the Oscars red carpet cold open was timed at 9 minutes and 10 seconds. They ended up cutting it down to 7 minutes and 45 seconds for air. Mike Murray will be able to tell us later on the week how much it actually was during the air show, but that was the plan time. It was a very long cold open, which is interesting, right? Because but we were praising the fact that the political cold opens have been shortened. So now that they tried something different, does that work as a long cold open? Jack, I'd love to get your opinion.
I was here for a pop culture cold open instead of a political one. It was a nice sort of refreshing, just something different, and I appreciated that. And I love the Oscars, so I was like all in on this. I fully believe that Mike Tyson would call Mario Lopez Mario Luigi. That was probably my favorite little joke from that was said.
But also a Mike Tyson reference in 2013 of all the violent men we have in media.
2023. not even 2013, 2023.
Did I say 2013?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm living it. I have no idea.
We're springing forward, not backward tonight. You know that, right?
Very that. Apparently, I'm swinging to 2033. But truly, like, of all the violent options for men, you really said Mike Tyson. I'm just saying, like,
I wondered.
Boxers, MMA dudes.
I wondered if Keenan had ever done Mike Tyson on the show before. I was like, has this not been done before? Do we know this? But it was very long. I even didn't like catch the Pinocchio at the end of it. Like I don't know if I like looked away from my TV for a
That was
second,
my favorite part. I laughed so hard.
but
I was
did.
so disturbed.
I did not see
It was so
Pinocchio,
good.
so I don't know if I was disassociating by the end of the cold open, but it was very long, but it was fun, and I love Oscars, so I was giggling throughout the entire time.
Yeah, I got to shout out Mikey and Molly here for doing Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson.
Oh
we
my
saw
God.
them together, obviously, in the second episode of the season, but it was so funny. They were so great with that.
It was perfect.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the full circle
yeah,
I wanted.
For sure. If you like the Jewish jokes, Sarah Sherman just, crushes for you. It personally appeals to me. I mean, I just thought she was fantastic in this as well.
Yeah,
So,
I was like,
those are parts that were probably highlights.
Sarah Sherman knows that woman. Like she knows that woman.
Related to that woman.
Yes.
Like,
and also I want to give a shout out to Chloe Fineman's neck acting as Jamie Lee Curtis. That was
it was giving
top notch. So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, that was good. Obviously, you can't help but think of Kristen Wiig as Jamie Lee Curtis from back in the day. And then I was looking, I was like, has Keenan ever played Mike Tyson before? Keenan has never played Mike Tyson on the show before. Tracy Morgan did it a few times, but Keenan has not. So I thought that was an interesting little thing. I was thinking about that. But yeah, this to me was like fun and cute. Could it have been cut down even more? I probably would have cut it down more, so we could have gotten an extra sketch or two in the show. There was a lot of stuff that was cut tonight, so that was my only complaint. But I have no like real issues with it overall.
My only problem is Chloe Fineman doing Jamie Lee Curtis was me talking about Cate Blanchett and Tar for the past 4 months. Jack and Joy can attest to this, which I have been so annoying about it. So I like that one. I thought was perfectly accurate because I have also been that person, and Ariana DeBose did the thing with Angela Bassett.
Period.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into the monologue from tonight, and we return to form in terms of our monologues, where we get a very classic season 47, season 48 monologue. Jenna Ortega comes out and talks about her childhood, the first commercial that she was ever in. There's a fun little bit where they turn it into a horror film, and then we get this other piece of the monologue where she brings up her Wednesday co-star, Fred Armisen, who plays Uncle Fester in Wednesday. And Fred Armisen comes up, does a typical joke about, I was on SNL for 11 years, what? And then they have some fun together. Jack, what do you think of the monologue tonight?
It was okay for me. It wasn't anything super memorable. The first thing I thought of was that like Jenna Ortega looked like she was about to go play Velma Kelly in Chicago with the outfit that she was wearing. I was like, why does she look like she's about to be in Chicago? But okay. But I knew Fred Armisen was going to be there. I had a feeling. And so that wasn't super, super surprising. But I loved the little the Colgate or whatever toothpaste commercial. That was really cute. That was fun. But other than that, it didn't blow my socks off or anything like that.
For sure. Amanda, I feel like Fred Armisen has appeared so much since he's left the show that sometimes people are like, do I need to see Fred again? But I thought he was really fun tonight, and we're going to talk about him in one of the sketches coming up. But did you enjoy getting to see him here, and what were your overall thoughts of the monologue?
Okay, Jack and I are vice presidents of the Elizabeth Moss fan club, despite the fact she's a Scientologist. So okay. Fred Armisen is not really welcome in our households. But I think it's just because there was so much Fred Armisen for so long. It was I absolutely do get fatigued because he was showing up in everything, and especially for a while there, it felt like LOL. Instead of hiring a woman, what if we just put Fred Armisen in a dress? Wouldn't that be funny? And now with Lissa Spookies, and with Wednesday, I'm kind of like, okay, you can come back, but in like small doses, please. Thank you. Do this. And this was the right amount of Fred Armisen. This is the correct amount. If I'm going to have a little bit, I just want to taste, a dabble, and then bring it back, and that was cool by me. Yeah. Yeah,
I talked about this on the podcast a little while ago. I wish there was a term, like a comedic term for somebody that when you just look at, you just like can't stop laughing. And Fred does that for me. Like not everything he says is absolutely hilarious, but sometimes I just like look at him and I just like cannot stop laughing. And that was him in the sketch that's coming up. So I think there was potential in a good idea to bring him in tonight. And I think the last time we had him on the show was in the Natasha Lyonne episode, the finale of last season. So like once a season, that's fine. Bring back a fan favorite, a good great cast member from the show. So why not? All right, next up we got School versus School. That is our very weird game show that we open up the night on, where Kenan Thompson is hosting as Jay McCormick. And first, Kenan decides to introduce the family, on one side, where we get Punky Johnson as Sheila Cashman, the teacher, with Marcelo and Michael Longfellow as Gabe and Manny, her students. And everything seems pretty normal. But on the other side is Professor Xander's Academy for Extraordinary Children, played by Mikey, who has Jenna as Xena and Molly as Knockout. And they're supposed to be mutants, I assume, as a take on Professor Xavier. This was absolutely wild, where Xena ends up mind controlling Professor Cashman, and then Punky's just stuck in frozen with a bloody nose. I don't know what was happening here, but I thought this was just like a wild swing they took at the beginning of the night. Amanda, what'd you think?
Oh, like this felt like after Weekend Update sketch for any other episode, but here they were like, let's put something just really weird right at the top of the hour. Like, in retrospect, like, I forgot this happened, but I enjoyed it when I was watching it, even though I knew where all the beats were gonna go. And I thought Jenna was having so much fun here. Like she was having a good time. And I'm always worried, like, thinking about hair and makeup transition. So I absolutely think Mikey had the bald cap on underneath the Colin Farrell wig, and they whipped it off, right? I'm just wondering how they made that happen, because otherwise that man's hairline, woo, poor baby. But in general, this sketch, I thought it was fine. I mean, it was fine. I enjoyed it. It was unusual, and it had some weird punches, and it was a little, offbeat. Cool. I loved it. This felt like they were trying to appeal to the audience they knew was watching, which was Gen Z, for sure.
Definitely. I think they wanted to probably put Jenna Ortega in a very significant role in the first sketch of the night to see what she could do. But I also feel like Mikey Day completely carried this sketch here, and it sort of won me over on the fact that Mikey was just trying so hard to make this work. Jack, what do you think of it?
I always kind of roll my eyes whenever the first sketch of the night is like a game show, right? Like, I'm kind of just like, oh, we're doing this again. Like, why do we have to have another game show sketch? But this one was obviously a huge twist, and I was not expecting like B-grade X-Men characters to show up or whatever. I could not stop thinking about the giant hand that Molly had. Like, the fingers were moving, and I was like, how did they make that? Is her real hand in there? What was going on? But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed, like, the shot back to Punky, and she was just like completely dead or whatever was going on with her. That made me laugh. I was pleasantly surprised with this one. It was nice that I was expecting to sort of be bored during it, and then I wasn't. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah, I think the interactions here between Mikey and Jenna were really, really strong. Just the whole teacher-student thing that was happening. And to me, the reason why this sketch works as a game show premise at the beginning of the night is because the game show never really gets started, right? It just, it's not the game mechanic here that they're making a joke of, which we've seen like 75% of SNL episodes over the last decade. It's really the idea that they're trying to do a game show, but these like weirdos on the other side are preventing this from happening. And then what's going to devolve between the two families or whatever that they're doing here. I thought that this was really fun. And I literally wrote down, like, this has to be one of the craziest opening sketches I've seen in modern times. But good on Mikey, who is really continuing to push himself more in this, later years of his SNL career, with some of his contemporaries already leaving the show. I think it's pushing him and inspiring him to try other things. And this to me was a great Mikey moment to start off the night. So overall, this was a good sketch, probably won over by performance more than the actual concept itself. All right, let's head over to our first pre-tape of the night, where we get, for the first time in their history at the show, Please Don't Destroy does a pre-tape 3 episodes in a row. I figured this might happen given the fact that the film unit is potentially heading for a strike on April 1st. So we wouldn't necessarily be getting Please Don't Destroy pre-tapes as long as they are striking. So it's like, let's, no pun intended, strike while the iron's hot and keep going with these sketches. And for the 15th time, we get a Please Don't Destroy It short on the show. And this time we have PDD with Jenna Ortega taking a road trip, and they are in the car singing. And then it keeps getting interrupted by them missing the exit or Martin yelling about his dad having a stroke. We also have JAJ as Jesus here. So fun little cute song that they're singing together in the car as they are on the road trip. So Jack, what did you think of PDD's pre-tape tonight?
Listen, as somebody who has road tripped quite a bit in my life, gone to spring break in college, I've gone to Bonnaroo and done it multiple times. I've done road trips. I felt very seen during this because the idea of a road trip is so much fun. You're thinking like we're gonna play the great music, and then by the end of it, everybody is breaking down and wants to kill everybody. So I loved this one. It was just I just related to it so much. It was just it brought me back to my college road trip days.
Yeah, I love a good road trip. So for me, this is always very fun when you get people in the car and then you're all singing and jamming in the car to certain songs. But it was good. And I mean, I love the vibe that they're going for with these last few pre-tapes is like there's a little bit of elements of seeing them in the office. So you get their personal home base, but then they take it out there to go on the road, or they take it to go to somebody's house or a stakeout or whatever it is. Like they're playing with the format in a way that's still consistent with what you would expect from Please Don't Destroy, but then always flipping the expectation a little bit, which is why I did enjoy this. And I feel for the third week in a row, a very solid Please Don't Destroy pre-tape. Amanda, what did you think of it?
This was one of my favorites of the night. I laughed. I laughed so hard. Like just the thing about the slushy, that was such a specific detail when they're just shut. Either there's nothing in that. There's nothing in there. There's nothing. Stop. And it's like somebody always throws up on a road trip. Always. I don't know how it, like, everything about this was perfect. I little twist at the end was the perfect little PDD, just like we're reminding you like we're absurd, but we're we're really absurd. We test the limits here before midnight here on this television show that we work on. But I enjoyed this a lot, and also Jenna was giving vocals. Did anyone else hear?
Yes.
She was singing.
Yes.
She sounded amazing. But yeah, I thought this was really fun, and I really enjoyed it. And if I would say this is I think my favorite of the 3 pre-tapes of the night, but it's really slim between my first 1 and 2. Yeah.
I disagree, but we'll talk about it when it comes up because we have to talk about Parent Trap first. Where next up we get this Parent Trap sketch based on the very famous Lindsay Lohan movie, where Bowen Yang comes in as the director, and Jenna Ortega is in the Parent Trap remake playing Lindsay Lohan's Hallie Parker, and they need someone to stand in as Annie James in this sketch. So instead, we get Fred Armisen as a 56-year-old man, Raymond, who is standing in here, supposed to be saying the lines of Annie, but instead is talking from Raymond's perspective. And we get some really fun back and forth between Fred Armisen and Jenna Ortega here. And Amanda, I'd love to get your opinion on Parent Trap.
I enjoyed it. I got I knew where it was going from the get. As soon as he walked in, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like it's fine. Like we've seen Fred Armisen do this person over and over again. I don't know why Jenna would let them concede airtime to him. That sounds so bad. But it's like I'm sorry if I'm hosting SNL for the first time. It's like this is a big money and one of the most monumental rises in my career. I'm not conceding airtime to nobody. So maybe whatever. But I got the premise. I was just waiting to bring up how really just traumatizing the whole premise of that movie is, but I'm asking too much, apparently.
Yeah, I see that point. I think that, from Jenna's perspective, you could definitely consider that. Then again, I'm sure she loves Fred Armisen, which is why he was there in the first place. And I'm sure that Fred probably makes her laugh. And I think that for her, this was probably a really fun thing. She said, she probably wanted to do a sketch with Fred. And that's how this thing came together. That would be my assumption. And that's how these things usually work. But Jack, did it work for you?
It worked on different levels for me. I we've seen this character from Fred Armisen, but I did laugh. I mean, I did like chuckle. He made me laugh. Um, the thing I appreciated the most from this sketch, I guess, was like what an updated 2023 version of the Parent Trap would look like. So like Shawn Mendes as like instead of Leonardo DiCaprio, and then like Ed Helms and Leslie Mann as the parents.
Which
I was like,
yep, give it to me. Give it to me.
perfectly casted.
I would watch it. I would watch it immediately.
Yeah, so that was what I took away from that sketch. Honestly, I don't really remember anything else from it, just besides that Ed Helms and Leslie Mann were perfectly cast as the mom and dad from The Parent Trap. But yeah, it is interesting that now like thinking back at it, it was a Fred Armisen sketch, like 100%. But you know, again, like I agree with you. I think she probably has fun hanging out with Fred Armisen on set and wanted to do a sketch with him, and you know, he probably makes her laugh. So, you know, it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to be a Fred Armisen defender here and say, like, I get where everybody is coming from. I totally understand. Like, this is not like, you know, Fred is not in the cast right now, so it's like, why are we doing this particular thing? But for me, like, I always find, especially, first of all, Fred Armisen did not dominate the night. I didn't walk away feeling like this was, you know, Fred was a part of the cast. I felt like there was like one section here, and then you can count the monologue as well, which is really its own piece. But, you know, there's one section here where they devoted to a Fred Armisen sketch. Every now and then, I find it really fun to like go back in time a little bit and get the vibes of a previous era of the show. It happened many times in the 2000s where they would go back to the late 80s, early 90s era and bring in certain cast members for that. I don't really have an issue with this. I can understand people saying, well, we've seen a lot of Fred over the last few years, so like, why are we continuing to do this? But in this case, it made sense because there was a connection between Fred and Jenna. So for me, I sort of have to say, like, I like Fred. I don't love every single thing he's ever done in the show, but in this case, I thought he was really good. And if this was a sketch that happened while Fred Armisen was a cast member, I would probably say I enjoyed this and laughed and sent it to my friends. So I don't. Yeah, like I can't find,
and we'd want to see that character come back again too.
Yeah, they would have done this a billion times. They would have had Amanda Bynes on. They would have done it like, you know, it would have actually maybe not Amanda Bynes. She'd already by the time he'd come on. You know. But anyway, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, for me, like, I think if anybody here is like worried about like Fred Armisen as Raymond coming back a million times every single time they have a host that's, you know, it's not going to happen. Like, this was just like a fun thing that Jenna and Fred will do together that will be passed around to all the people who loved watching Wednesday and stuff like that. So to me, this was a win-win and didn't take away from the rest of the show. Next up, we have another sketch called Ridiculousness. And if you ever tried to watch anything on MTV, well, you cannot, because Ridiculousness is on 24/7 always when you turn that channel on. But here we have Mikey as Rob, the host of the show, Keenan as Steel Brim, Chloe as Chanel West Coast, and Jenna is here as Lily 2 times, who is 17 years old and is supposed to be reacting to all the viral clips of all the ridiculousness, but instead just keeps talking about the horrible things that she has experienced, including her cousin's head getting cut off by a boat propeller and her cat ball. So, Jack, what do you think of Ridiculousness?
When this sketch started, I said, what year is it? Like, why do we have a Ridiculousness sketch in the year 2023?
Jack, you know why. Because somebody was mad about Drag Race and all of that fiasco, and they realized, oh, it's because they air Ridiculousness for all day. I bet it was Bowen Yang who brought it up. I bet Bowen Yang brought it up. That's why.
I can
People
see
are talking
that.
about it.
I know. I mean,
can you explain that a little bit more for anybody who like doesn't get all that?
Yeah. So basically, long story short, guys, Drag Race moved to MTV. They cut the episode shorts to fill in content they didn't need to, but they're still airing Ridiculousness literally. I think I've just looked on the calendar right now. It looks like roughly around. They have what looks like a full 12-hour block of just Ridiculousness straight through on a Thursday to Friday afternoon. So like they're still doing this and they're airing it like 8 to 10 hours a day daily on a regular basis. So this joke is very relevant, Jack. I wouldn't say it's not relevant. I think it's very relevant.
I get that aspect of it, but I'm also at the same time, I'm just like, I don't know if we needed this. I just don't get it. I mean, there was some good jokes in there. I appreciated that, like Mikey Day called out that the dude he was playing, I don't even know his name, but he is like almost 50 and Like, again, why is the show still on
Rob
TV?
Deerdick.
Rob Dyrdek, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I refuse to learn it, but I don't know. I was just like, why is this sketch happening? It was my least favorite of the night for sure. I was just confused, and I mean, it was funny, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say this is probably my weakest part of the first half as well. I feel like the concept here was just from like, without knowing all the drag race aspect and stuff like that. I mean, I just sort of felt like I was watching this and I didn't really feel like this went anywhere exactly where I wanted it to go. Like, I think the idea of having someone come in and kill the vibe can always be an interesting idea to a sketch, but you really have to kill the vibe to the point that Keenan and Chloe themselves are like showing more than just like awkwardness. Like, I think they had to be like pure disgust. I think there had to be like a crazy dramatic effect to the idea of them not enjoying Jenna's story. So I really felt like this was just baseline in terms of a format for me. Amanda, what do you think?
I mean, I always love the panel has an intruder come in situation, but yeah, I feel like they having both of the other knowing lead panel people take the same path felt like I was like, no, one of them, it needs that's why Lisa from Temecula was so fantastic, is because you had one person who had leaned into the absurdity, and then a bunch of people who were like, wait, let's go, and you need there was no straight man here, and I was waiting for who it was going to be, and I just wanted more. I wanted it to be less. It was annoying. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely see John makes a great point in the chat about Jenna's character being the one that matters here. I think that's the focus when you go back and rewatch this sketch for a second time, is like, is Jenna doing enough here to carry the sketch? Because I don't think anybody else is carrying anything. So I think that you have to really watch and agree with Jenna, just like, turning the sketch on a dime and being like, okay, now this is no longer just what you would see on Ridiculousness, but now it's something awkward and weird. So I think that that would be what I would watch in my second watch for this particular sketch. But yeah, I want to just talk about this Waffle House one that's coming up right next, where we have this dramatic scene between Marcelo as Zach and Jenna as Casey, who are, just everything you would see in your typical teen drama, where Jenna is no longer going to state. She's going to go to New York City for music school, and they're just having this emotional talk back and forth. But behind them is the second scene that's happening in the Waffle House, where we start off with Molly throwing waffles at Heidi, and then Mikey is shirtless telling people to chill. There's this whole bit about the dog, like, whose dog is this? Devin's behind the counter. Ego walks out of the bathroom yelling about the dog. We get to see this amazing moment, if you missed this, of Ego falling off the counter in the background, which I was on the floor. Punky comes out in a wheelchair. Andrew comes in as his police officer. Eventually, like, a kid runs in and steals his gun. We get Keenan running out of the bathroom with the toilet paper on fire. And it turns out at the end of the day, when this is over, Mikey Day is Jenna's dad here. So this was, to me, so much fun. I'll get into it after I get your opinion, Amanda. So what did you think?
I have never been angrier. My internet cut out in the middle of at like the very end.
No.
It cut out I missed that last punch about Mikey Day, and now I'm upset. I have to go back and rewatch. I was riveted. My internet, I literally was like, what happened? And it just cut out. But here we are. I thought this was fantastic. This was so, everything that would happen. And I loved it. I have no notes. I really don't. I have no notes. It's just everything I wanted. Like this, like I said, these two pre-tapes, these first two, they were smooching for me. They were kissing. They were giving double save. It was amazing.
Jack, did you catch all of this?
I did, because I was not paying attention to a goddamn thing that Jenna Ortega was saying. Like, they could have been talking about like the war in Ukraine, or you know what I mean? Like, they could have been literally been talking about anything, and I was not paying attention. It was just like I wish I could have been like a fly on the wall inside of that Waffle House, like while they were actually filming this, because they just must have had so much fun just being insane and like just improving, and I don't know, it was so much fun to watch. We all know Waffle Houses are just they breed insanity and crazy cuckoo whateverness, and it was just so much fun to watch. It felt like an instant classic to me.
And another note, because I am, I researched too. I had to look up where the closest Waffle House was. There is no Waffle House it's in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So they probably had to build a Waffle House set for this.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. They're not going to Pennsylvania.
Well, yeah, I was like, there's no Waffle House in New Jersey, because I would have gone there already. I would have found a way, in the middle of the night. Like, it's weird. But so this again, with the set design they've been doing this season, we've talked about this before. This was another beautiful set, and everything involved. And now I really want a waffle.
I gotta say, this was one of my favorite sketches of the entire season. This was so fantastic. I loved every minute of it. I thought it was so brilliant the way they did it. If you don't know me, I love people watching. I love going to restaurants and just looking at what like everybody's doing at every table, seeing all the people that I think are like kind of crazy or kind of kooky and weird. And like this was made for somebody like me, where like I'm supposed to be focused on this very serious conversation between these two, I guess, teens, but in the background is all this insanity. And like that is what I've lived my entire life looking at, which is like, oh my God, did you just see what happened over there? And that's what was so smart about this. And I was like, sometimes SNL sketches are so great when you're like, how have they never done this before? And they hit one of those things tonight. And that's the magic of the show. And some ideas just like start to click together and work because, they had a really good concept and they could have burned it by not having like the right things happening in the background here, but they had enough like diversity in opinion and diversity in character as to what was happening in the background that I felt like the moments were there to, execute this perfectly. And, it's sort of like, in a weird way, I don't know if anybody other SNL fans watching this will make the same connection, but it reminded me sort of like back in the Fred Armisen era, they used to do this thing where they would be like at a wedding and then like different characters would like take the microphone type of thing. And they would like keep interrupting each other. And like, they would just like the different characters that all the cast members would play were so different and unique and fun that I always like loved getting to see that type of sketch. And this sort of reminded me that here where I was like, I could not wait for the next cast member to pop up in the background to see what they were going to pull off. So I cannot heap enough praise on whoever, created this and put this together, because for me, this was absolutely brilliant.
Also, just one more note. This was a metaphor for ADHD. That's what my brain feels like, in case you guys are ever wondering. Like, that is what my brain feels like. Especially the at a Waffle House scenario. Like, my brain is perpetually at a Waffle House. So, just, like, if you told me this is a metaphor for ADHD, I would believe you, because that's what my brain feels like.
And the payoff with Mikey at the end too was just like, it was so satisfying. It just wrapped it up in a perfect little waffle, I don't know, goodness.
It's a great night for Mikey Day across the board.
Yes,
like 100%. Just a
really
great
good
night for Mikey Day. Wonderful. So good to see.
Yes, for sure. Well, I cannot wait to rewatch this, show this to people, and talk about this all week long. What a brilliant sketch. Let's talk about the 1975, who was performing here for the second time on the show. Jack, what do you think of the 1975 tonight?
Wait, that was their second time?
Why? You thought this was the first?
Jack texted me, he's like, I do not know who this man is.
They performed. Okay, so they performed with Larry David as host back in 2016, season 41.
Oh, okay, interesting. They were good, I guess. I don't listen to them very much. But I mean, I enjoyed it. I went in with like, I wish there was another musical guest this week, basically, and then I had a enjoyable time listening to their music. So I probably won't check them out, but hey, I can't believe it's their second time.
yeah, it is.
It blows my mind.
Amanda, what did you think of the 1975 tonight?
Okay, so I don't know anything about the 1975. Like, Maddie Healy, I know that's the lead singer, and he comes up all of my For You page, and that's the only thing I know about him, is that like the Gen Z people, like he gets on stage, it gets chaotic, and that's all I know about Mr. Healy. And I just feel like, Jack understands what I'm saying. He's just doing an Alex Turner impression, but
correct.
Otherwise, I was bopping. I wasn't, I was walking around my apartment and finishing up cleaning, bopping around. The music was nice. Like it wasn't the worst thing. Would I be mad if I was in a TJ Maxx shopping and I heard it? No. And that's where I would hear it.
That is fair. Yeah. I thought it was really good tonight. I thought they were great. The only thing was like, he kept like, I don't know if this is like a normal thing that he does when he's on stage. Like you said, Amanda, he probably gets really crazy, but he just kept like shaking his hair to the point and like kept like landing on his eye. It was like, that was really, it was very distracting.
That's why I said Alex Turner, like Alex Turner was doing that 10 years ago. The Arctic Monkeys started that. No.
Yeah.
And Gerard Way was doing it before all of them. That's just
got it. All right. Well, yeah, it was fun tonight. Very solid. Let's go to a weekend update though, where for the first time in their career on Saturday Night Live, we get Molly Carney on Weekend Update, which was great. So happy for them, where they play Randy McNally, who recently praised gay men's racy Instagram posts this week. And we get this fun back and forth between Colin Jost and Molly Carney on a Weekend Update. So Jack, what do you think of Molly's first time on Update?
Loved it. It was a very topical, kind of one of those news stories that maybe would have gone under the radar if you like hadn't maybe specifically heard of it. So I was happy that that got highlighted for people to see at home. But Molly looked a little nervous. I think they kind of fumbled over a few lines during it. But it was so fun. It was a really funny character. And yeah, they did a great job.
Yeah, I think like the big debate was like, when are we going to get some Molly stand-up? Because we got the other 3 stand-ups on Update, but this time we get Molly as a character, and perhaps they tried the stand-up thing, previously, and it just didn't work and didn't make it to the desk. But this time there felt like there was a character, an impression here that made sense for them to do. And yes, I did notice that there may have been a little bit of nerves, but it's hard to blame them. This is the first time really having that spotlight moment. So Amanda, what do you think?
I thought that they did great. I thought it was a really fun performance for something that it was really topical, only came out a few days ago. I think the comment that was just on the screen that I think it's very interesting that they're having the choice of having Molly play a lot of cisgender men. And I think the intention of having Molly play a Republican man in drag is just it hit me. I was like, that's a specific level of civil disobedience that we would never get out of letting them do stand up for like a solid 5 minutes. Like that's such a specific and beautiful pointed political move for the show and for them to do. And yeah, I thought it was very interesting, and I'm excited to see what they do next. Really, it's very nice.
I'll say we got a question on the Patreon feedback show this past week where one of our listeners called us out and said, like, hey, last year you were talking so much about Aristotle and his screen time. How come you're not talking about Molly and their screen time this season? And I was like, look, fair enough. But I think that, the difference between JJ, Sarah, and Aristotle last year was like much greater than some of the featured players and Molly this year. So perhaps the disparity isn't as big. And also, I sort of feel like Molly will have their opportunity. And then it came right here this weekend. So I have to give praise for a very solid episode for Molly. And I think that they're sort of building toward this. Not everybody has the like crazy strong start that we've seen from some of the featured players who are really like a generational, start to it, to what could be a great era of the show. This time, it's going to be a different path for Molly to get there, and I'm hoping that they do. So proud of Molly tonight. Great job. But here's an interesting thing that happened on Weekend Update tonight. So originally, I believe we were supposed to get Ego Wodum on Weekend Update as Ja Morant, the NBA star who was recently suspended for having a gun and putting it on Instagram Live. So that was going to be Ego's piece tonight, and that got cut. So they brought in JJ instead, who was cut a couple times this season for just basically going on Weekend Update and doing random impressions. And this time they're like, hey, we got like 1 minute left. Like, let's bring out Jaj to see what he's going to do. And like, he just did some like Batman and Jay-Z and stuff, and typical stuff you would see in his stand-up. So Jack, what do you think of that?
I've never seen him do these little like micro impressions before. I was tickled during it. It was so much fun. The Adam Driver as Rilo, whatever the name is, I don't know.
Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren, thank you. I don't
Rilo Kiley?
No, I didn't say Rilo Kiley.
You were about to.
But I don't watch Star Wars. Please don't sue me.
It's okay.
But as like in Girls, that was just like, it was so specific and just so much fun. And I hope that he gets to do more of this, because it was just like so like easy, you know what I mean? Like it was just like, it felt like I don't know, just like a fun thing that Weekend Update hasn't done before, and it felt fresh, and just I loved it. It was really fun.
Yeah, I think what the fun aspect of this for me was, Amanda, was that for the second week in a row, we got to see a cast member or multiple cast members come out as themselves on Weekend Update and just do, their bits. And I think, last week it really worked with Mikey and Punky. And this week we got to know James Austin Johnson better, where it was the first time we got to see him do Trump, where he wasn't actually playing Trump. So this was fun for everybody who wants to connect and get to know James Austin Johnson better. And I will say, Amanda, especially important for him, because he gets so method in his characters that it is like he's the cast member that people really need to get to know as a person. So what did you think of it?
I mean, a few weeks ago, y'all were shocked when I said that man was my dream man, and I stand by it, and I know that man's DMs are violent after that, because I'm about to be in them, honestly. I really should at this point.
I thought Bobby Moynihan was your dream man.
No, that's separate. That's two different types, okay? But Jazz checks a lot, like the boxes are checked. And this was, I thought, yeah, I like Jack said, I was tickled, I was tee-hee-heeing, I was having a good old time, I was bemused. It was like I wasn't expecting it, but also it was so refreshing, and it's nice to see. Like that's probably something he does at home.
Absolutely,
just, does by himself at home. And that's like, and these were well thought out impressions that he's probably done and never gets a chance to whatever. And yeah, and I think this was really great, and I hope that this fill for time, let them just kind of do their thing concept doesn't become a recurring thing, to the point where we get sick of it. But I would like to see it ever so often, where we remind the audience that these are both impressionists but also people who do impressions. Yeah,
that makes sense. All right, let's head over to our next sketch after Weekend Update, and this time we go to Exorcism, and this is a fun sketch where JAJ is here as father who is trying to get rid of whatever is going on in Jenna Ortega's body, and Andrew and Chloe are there as her parents, Jenna as Claire. There needs to be an exorcism, and then Ego as Mrs. Shaw, the upstairs neighbor, comes on in and is just wondering what the hell is going on. It's a Tuesday night. She's trying to go to sleep. And so she ends up trying to perform the exorcism. I believe she brings her husband, Keenan, as Frank, if I got that correctly. And Mr. Shaw, who comes on in and who ends up performing the exorcism because, he's very concerned that Ego's going to cancel their sex date coming up. So, Amanda, what did you think of Exorcism?
I mean, okay. I feel like an exorcism trope it's a well that's dug deep and whatever. There's very few refreshing takes you can have on it. And here, I wouldn't say it was a refreshing take, but the performances of this take were refreshing, And I think it was, I wanted it to be a little bit more. I wasn't laughing out loud. I was like, oh, that's funny. That's funny. Okay, I get that. But it was just fine.
Jack, did you like this?
I did like it. I was waiting for Ego to have a starring sketch, I guess, during this episode. So I was tickled when she came out. I loved the idea that her character was able to do the exorcism without that. I did feel like at the end of the sketch it kind of ended a little abruptly or something like that. I don't know. I was like, oh, it's over with. Okay, that was interesting. But I thought there were some really, really great lines. When Ego said the one about like tossing a salad, I audibly laughed out loud. That was really great. At 9 p.m. in the middle of the night, that was really funny too, because that's the way my brain works as well. I thought it was good. I do agree with you, Amanda, that yeah, like we've seen a lot of exorcism stuff. But it was fun, and like anything Ego does, I'm just like so happy to see. So
For sure. I see a lot of the chat bringing up the legendary Richard Pryor sketch back in the day, back in 1975 for some comparison. And so that obviously goes way back. But again, I mean, this one to me was very basic concept. This wins over on Ego and Keenan's performances alone, probably more Ego here. But it's another thing where sort of reminiscent of the night, which I thought was a very solid night, but they basically put Jenna in a position to do, base stuff. She's pretty, good here doing what she has to do, but we have a certain cast member who is going to carry the sketch on energy. And I think that this is the Ego showcase of the night where she's going to play Mrs. Shaw. And I think that, right when she walks through the door, she gave me like a pretty good laugh just talking about like how they woke her up and she wants to go to bed and all that stuff. And I don't know that this fully went everywhere I wanted it to, but I think that Ego is such like a dynamic performer that I feel like if you love Ego, you love this sketch, and this is part of the Rolodex of what you're getting from her this season. So I'm glad, especially over the last few episodes, that they've given her the opportunity to like flex her wings a little bit. And I think this was another great example of that.
give her an Emmy
Honestly.
Yeah. For sure.
Ugh, I love her.
I know.
By the way, happy spring forward, everybody who's following along live.
Oh my God, it's 3.
Yeah.
It's late night.
Oh my God.
Up to bad activities.
Time is a
construct. 2 a.m.
Time is a construct. Makes no sense.
As Mrs. Shaw would say, what are we doing up so late? So let's keep going with Jingle Pitch. This is our final sketch of the night where we get Jenna and Bowen want to turn a phone number into a catchy jingle for Donald's and Dominguez, and they're talking to Chloe and Devin about it. I'm not really sure what Chloe and Devin were doing in the sketch, but basically they end up bringing in the pairing of Andrew and JAJ as Soul Booth, who come in and they're performing different versions or different soul versions of the catchy jingle here. So Jack, what do you think of Jingle Pitch?
All I can think about from that sketch is just the wigs that they were wearing. They were A+ wigs. I appreciated that. But honestly, the entire sketch, all I kept on thinking was that I wish this was the Costco sketch with A.D. Bryant and Bowen from last season. Like that's what it reminded me of. And I was just like, I would rather be watching that sketch than this one right now. It was a cute idea, but the fact that it reminded me so much of that one sort of makes me feel like it was a little bit unoriginal, I guess, or maybe had been done before. But the characters were fun, but it didn't really go anywhere for me. I wasn't obsessed with it, but it was a fun last sketch of the night where they kind of just throw it at the wall and hope it sticks, right?
Right. Well, let me give you another sketch that this sort of reminded me of, at least in terms of look, which was Round Ball Rock. This is from the Vince Vaughn episode in season 38, where Jason Sudeikis and Tim Robinson are talking about the theme for the NBA song on NBC. That was like, the John Tesh, that was the like very same look exactly. And then speaking of Fred Armisen, there was also a sketch, I think in the Brian Williams episode in season 33, right before the writer's strike, where they have to come up with a new theme for NBC. Like they've done stuff like this before. That I totally agree with you, Jack. So I've seen this, but I like this a lot more than perhaps some of the other ones that we've seen, because I think Andrew and JJ are a really fun pairing together. We got to see them a few weeks ago in that car salesman commercial. So I think that this pairing is a pairing we're going to see for many years in the future, and it's fun getting to see them grow together. So this is this was really good, I think, in my opinion. Amanda, did you like it?
Okay, so it's not that I didn't like it. I just saw the premise and I was like, there's so many other places this could have gone, and if the songs
take us there.
If the songs were better bops, I could have gotten behind it. If the jingles were jingling, I could have gotten behind it. But like, and it was because I love Andrew Dismukes and I love JJ together. I love them like as a pair. But what I wanted it to be was, yeah, like those other sketches, the rewriting that, or like, we write a sketch, like a jingle that's so catchy that it gets stuck in your head, kind of like the Cars for Cars sketch from Kumail Nanjiani, I believe.
Nanjiani, yeah.
Thank you. Sorry. I missed a syllable. Thank you. Yeah, I think I just wanted this to be, I don't know. And also, I will say this was not a good night for Bowen. Like, Bowen showed up and was just there, and I was like, there was never a point in any of these sketches I thought Bowen was really necessary or delivering anything special, and I hate saying that because I love Bowen. But yeah, I just, for 10-1, I was like, okay, that's it. That's the note we're gonna end on. And okay, but I wanted them to be.
Yeah, I mean, we just haven't gotten enough Andrew
good,
to news
bad.
lately, so like I have
That
to fight
too.
for when we get Andrew on the show.
Yes, always. That's the good point.
They also kind of reminded me of like Dick in a Box as well, like the whole, like their outfits and their wigs. It was giving me that as well.
Yeah, it felt like a nostalgia. Like they pulled a bunch of nostalgia from other SNL sketches, and they never really got to the heart of what made all those things good.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that is fair. I liked it, and I'll fight.
I agree with you on their pairing, though. I am excited to see them work together more.
I mean, that's the only thing that's really going for this sketch is the pairing of the two of them. So if you like it and you want to fight for them, then the sketch works for you. So all right, let's think about what we want to rate this episode out of 10. In the meantime, I'll tell you a little bit about what was cut from the show tonight. So we spoke about Ego on Update as John Morant. There was a pre-tape that was also cut at Dress called Will Add. I wonder if they'll hold that pre-tape perhaps in case they need it on the April 1st date. So something to watch out for with there being a pre-tape that was cut before the live show. Two sketches cut at Dress as well, called one called Study Abroad. I believe in this one, Sarah Sherman made out with Fred Armisen. So that was the other Fred Armisen sketch that got cut before the episode. Then there was a sketch called Why Did I Come in This Room? That was a game show sketch. And then the two sketches.
Is that a sketch about having ADHD? Because that sounds like a sketch about having ADHD.
Perhaps, yeah. maybe we'll see it pop up. Then there was a sketch, two sketches that were cut for time tonight. So they were supposed to be on the live show, but they were cut for time. One was called Jamaican Resort that featured Keenan and Devin rapping. And then one called Animation Writer's Room, where they were trying to write about Cinderella. So those two sketches were cut tonight for time. All right, Amanda, Jack, let's think about what we want to rate this show out of 10. Amanda, I will start with you.
I'm going to go with a 6.5 to a 7. But that's because I think there were moments that when it was weak, it was really weak. But I loved the ensembleness and how many starring moments we got to see from people who like we've been waiting to hear from, and people who we haven't seen in a long time, Marcelo especially. Like, I think I think that there was a lot of great moments to see. Let me walk that sentence back. There are a lot of seeds planted here. I think that, I mean, we talked about this a few weeks ago, like where they're playing with format and playing with structure, especially after Cecily's gone. Like, what's the next era going to look like? And this episode, I feel like it's the first time we're really seeing what the risks they're going to start to try to take in order to bring us to the next level. So I think, I'm a 6.5. It's a 7. Yeah.
All right, Jack, where are you going to rate this night?
I'm going to go for like a soft 7.5, borderline 7, in between 7.5. I agree with everything you said, Amanda. I think it would have been a stronger episode had Jenna Ortega maybe been more of a lead in some of the sketches and not sort of just like a placeholder. I think a lot of the characters that she did could have been played by anybody in the cast, you know what I mean? So I think it would have been a little bit higher up for me had she been not that she didn't I think she did great, you know what I mean, but it wasn't, anything to write home about. But the cast themselves were just so strong, really great ensemble work. I feel like they're gelling together, they're vibing. And it seems like they're having fun, which I think is like the most important thing on Saturday Night Live to me.
For sure. I think this was easily the strongest episode for me from the three. I think Travis Kelce certainly brought up his episode from his performance, but for me, it was the cast was at its strongest tonight. Writing wasn't amazing, but I think that the execution on a lot of these sketches, the performances, I feel like the cast really brought it tonight. So I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10. I think I thought it was a very solid episode. I agree that my biggest takeaway from the night, Jack, was just the lack of Jenna Ortega probably, expanding herself in different roles. She was very solid, nothing wrong with her performance, but it's not like I walked away being absolutely amazed at Jenna Ortega as an SNL host, but the cast was really good. So I'll go away with an 8 out of 10 for this week. And then of course, very excited to talk about what's coming up on April 1st with Quinta Brunson and Lil Yachty. So that will be a lot of fun. You want to do a quick word on that, Jack?
I mean, it's like, it's time, you know what I mean? Like it's everything, but it was so unexpected. Like I did not see this coming, and I'm so happy that it's happening. If you're not watching Abbott Elementary, watch Abbott Elementary.
And I'm gonna get on my high horse right now and tell you that it's Quinta, because she's number 5 in her family line. She's so Quinta for 5 in Spanish, 5th in Spanish. So Quinta Brunson. But we love her and I'm so excited. But also I have mixed feelings because if the strike does go down before April 1st or on April 1st, because I'm assuming that's a Saturday, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to watch that. But I will watch it on reruns, you know?
Well, I mean, like
We'll
you could watch it or like come to the podcast after. I mean, the show is going to happen. I definitely want to support the film unit and everything that they're doing, and I totally agree with that. But I do think like there are still benefits to watching the show, and it's not necessarily taking away your support of the film unit if you watch the show. So, saying all of that, I think that would be. I think we're really looking forward to a great episode because Quinta Brunson is fantastic and totally has the background to be able to pull off what could be one of the best episodes of the season. So I'm looking forward to that. But before we get there, we have so much coverage of Jenna Ortega and the 1975s episode this week. Join us Monday on the roundtable. First up, we have an all-star panel here with us. We got Haskell, we got TJ, we got Rebecca here to break down all the sketches on Monday night. On Wednesday, we have an incredible By the Number show. I'll be back on the show on Wednesday to talk through all the numbers from the week. We got a patron feedback show on Thursday to answer some questions and then look forward to that April 1st show. And then during the SNL off weeks, we have some really fun shows planned, including an SNL Stories with the announcer of the show and former SNL cast member Daryl Hammond will be joining us on SNL Stories coming up very soon. So
are you going to ask him about how he had to get carried out in basically like a stress jacket?
No, we're going to have some. No,
I read his book. His book is amazing. Like it is. Ooh, that's gonna be so good.
Well, we'll have some fun with Daryl. I don't know if we're going to touch on that, but he'll be great on the show. So we have him coming up on SNL Stories during one of the off weeks. We're also going to have a superfan takeover where we will have a very fun bracket March Madness bracket season's coming up where we find out the brackets tomorrow for the actual March Madness. So it'll be Selection Sunday. That's the word I'm looking for. So we got some really fun things happening this March as we head towards April 1st and then the final 6 episodes of the show. So great to get to talk about this night with all of you in the chat. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us. Where can the listeners check out everything you got going on?
If you want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram and hear my unhinged nonsense, you can follow me there on Loch Ness Manda, right there on your screen. You can read it there, like the scary Scottish monster. If you want to read my work, I'm over at refinery29.com. Jack and I have a podcast about Top Chef that he will correctly tell you the title of in just a second because I never remember it, but it'll be back I think tomorrow, maybe Monday, whenever we get around to recording it. But thank you all for having me and always happy to be here.
Jack, great job tonight on your first podcast with us. So great to get to talk about SNL with you. Looking forward to doing that much more in the future. Where can the listeners check out everything you got going on?
Thank you. I had so much fun. This was just a blast. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jack Roskopp. If you want to read stuff that I write and you live in the Detroit area, you can go and click on Detroit.com. That's where I work. I'm an entertainment writer in the city of Detroit, or if you live in Michigan, whatever, or anywhere else, honestly, you can read my shit anytime. And our podcast. Oh, yes, it is called This is Top Chef, not Top Podcast. It is a play on a famous quote from Top Chef. If you watch Top Chef, listen to us. We'll have an episode out sometime this week. I don't know. We'll get there.
Awesome. Really fun to be with the two of you tonight. You can follow everything we got going on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. So many charts about Jenna Ortega's week, some really fun stuff about Disney stars and Scream and all of that. Some milestones that SNL cast members hit tonight. So that all that stuff is up on socials. You can subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify for everything we have going on this week, so you never miss a show. All right. For Amanda, Jack, and everybody in the chat on this Jenna Ortega and the 1975 night, my name is Jon Schneider from the SNN. We will see you next time, everybody. Have a good one.